Every night you are doing something, you just don't realize what it is. You close your eyes, you drift into silence, and you think nothing is happening. But something is always happening, something deeper than your thoughts, something older than your habits. Your subconscious mind is listening. It is listening to the last thing you felt, the last thing you believed about yourself, the last identity you wore before the darkness took you. And while you sleep, it goes to work. It takes that identity, it reinforces it, it builds the architecture of your tomorrow around it. So the question is not whether sleep is programming you. The question is what program you are running. Most people have never asked that question. They fall asleep exhausted. They fall asleep scrolling. They fall asleep worrying. They fall asleep rehearsing arguments that already happened, reliving moments that already passed, feeding the same fears, the same energy, night after night, and then they wake up and wonder why nothing changes, why the same patterns keep returning, why the same kind of day keeps finding them. It is not a coincidence. It is a program, a deeply embedded, nightly reinforced program, and you have been running it unconsciously for years. Here is what you need to understand. Your subconscious mind does not sleep. Your conscious mind rests. Your analytical mind quiets. Your defenses come down. But your subconscious, that vast, quiet, powerful part of you beneath the surface, it never stops. It processes. It sorts. It stores. It strengthens whatever you fed it last. This is not a metaphor. This is how your mind actually works. The final thoughts, feelings, and beliefs you carry into sleep become the material your subconscious uses through the night. It deepens them. It roots them further into your nervous system. It makes them more automatic, more natural, more you. And this is where self-concept lives. Not in your affirmations, not in your vision board, not in what you say you want. Your self-concept lives in what feels natural to you, what feels normal, what feels like just the way things are. If struggle feels natural, your subconscious built that. If lack feels normal, your subconscious reinforced that. If smallness feels comfortable, your subconscious made it comfortable. Night after night, year after year, quietly, invisibly, completely. But here is the other side of that truth. If your subconscious built this version of you, it can build a different one, using the exact same process, the exact same window, the exact same hours you were already sleeping through. You do not need more time. You do not need more effort. You need to understand one thing. Sleep is not rest from your becoming. Sleep is the deepest part of your becoming. There is a moment, and you have felt it before. You just never knew what it was. The moment right before sleep takes you completely, where your body is still, where your thoughts begin to blur, where the hard edges of your conscious mind start to soften. That moment has a name. It is called the hypnagogic state, and it is not just drowsiness, it is a doorway, the doorway between your conscious and your subconscious mind. In that state, your critical mind, the part of you that doubts, the part that says this is impossible, the part that keeps your old identity locked in place, goes quiet, almost completely quiet. And in that quiet, your subconscious becomes open, receptive, impressionable, like fresh soil. Whatever seed you plant in that moment goes deep, deeper than anything you say during the day, deeper than any forced positive thinking, deeper than willpower or discipline. Because in that state, there is no resistance, there is no argument, there is only acceptance. Neville Goddard understood this. He called it the state akin to sleep. He taught that the most powerful moment of your day is not your morning routine. It is not your meditation. It is not your journaling. It is that threshold, that quiet edge between waking and sleeping. He said that if you enter that state with a clear sense of who you are, a felt sense, not just a thought, but a feeling of already being the person you want to become, your subconscious will accept it as real. And what your subconscious accepts as real it builds into your experience. Not someday. Systematically, the way it always has. Except now, intentionally. Think about what this means. You have been accidentally programming yourself every night, accidentally reinforcing the old self, the worried self, the not enough self, the waiting for things to change self. Not because you are weak, not because you are broken. Because nobody told you what sleep actually is. Nobody told you that the hours you spend unconscious are the most powerful hours of your psychological life. So let's slow down here. Let's make this real. Right now, tonight, the version of you that falls asleep matters. Not the version you perform during the day, not the version you show to others, the version you are when nobody is watching, when the noise stops, when the performance ends, the quiet, honest, inner version. The one that lies in the dark and feels things without words. That version is speaking to your subconscious all night, and your subconscious is building your tomorrow around whatever that version believes. This is why surface-level change is so hard. You can say all the right things in the morning. You can recite your affirmations. You can tell yourself you are confident, abundant, worthy. But if you crawl into bed at night and feel small, feel uncertain, feel like none of it is really true, your subconscious ignores everything you said. It takes the feeling. It always takes the feeling. Because feelings are the language of the subconscious, not words, not intentions, feelings. And here is the thing about feelings. They are not just reactions. They are not just emotions that happen to you. Feelings are instructions. Every feeling you carry into sleep is an instruction to your subconscious about who you are and what your life is. A feeling of worry says, I am someone whose future is uncertain. A feeling of lack says, I am someone who does not have enough. A feeling of unworthiness says, I am someone who does not deserve. And your subconscious, loyal and precise, executes those instructions. Every night. Every single night. But when you understand this, something shifts because you realize that feelings can be chosen, not faked, not forced, chosen, cultivated. Like a fire you tend carefully before you sleep. You can choose to feel, even gently, even quietly, the feelings of the person you are becoming, the person who already has what they want, the person who already is what they desire to be. And if you carry that feeling into the hypnagogic state, into that soft, open, receptive threshold, your subconscious will take it, it will plant it deep, it will water it through the night, and you will wake up slightly different. Not dramatically, not all at once, but different, more aligned, more natural, more like the person you decided to become. This is not magic. This is not wishful thinking. This is the mechanics of how identity is formed, how it has always been formed. You are just learning to work with it consciously, instead of being shaped by it, blindly. You have been living as someone, not someone you chose, someone you absorbed. Through years of experience, through years of repetition, through years of falling asleep as the same person and waking up to confirm it. Your self-concept did not arrive, fully formed. It was built slowly, quietly, nightly, piece by piece. Feeling by feeling, and the version of you sitting here right now, the one reading these words, the one carrying certain beliefs about what is possible for you, that version was constructed the same way, which means it can be reconstructed. But you have to understand something first. Your subconscious does not care what is true. It cares what is familiar. This is a crucial distinction. Truth and familiarity are not the same thing. Something can be completely false and feel deeply true simply because it is familiar, simply because it has been repeated enough times, simply because you have fallen asleep with it enough nights. Your subconscious does not verify. It does not question. It does not ask whether this is accurate. It asks one question only. Is this what I know about this person? And if the answer is yes, it protects it. It preserves it. It makes sure your outer world reflects it. This is why your circumstances feel so stubborn, not because the world is against you, not because your desire is too big, but because your subconscious is doing exactly what it was designed to do. It is maintaining consistency. It is matching your outer world to your inner world, to your self-concept, to the version of you it has built through thousands of nights of reinforcement. So the work is not out there. The work is in here, and specifically, the work is in that quiet space before sleep. That is where the old program lives, and that is where the new one must be installed. Now let's talk about how this actually works. Not in theory, in practice, because understanding is not enough. You need to feel this. You need to see this as a real, usable process, not an abstract idea. Your brain moves through states as you fall asleep. When you are fully awake, your brain is in beta, alert, analytical, defended. In this state, your subconscious is largely inaccessible. Your conscious mind is running the show, filtering everything, questioning everything, protecting the existing identity. As you relax, your brain shifts into alpha, a calm, receptive state, still aware, but softer, less defended. This is where deep meditation lives. This is where creative insight arrives, and as you drift further towards sleep, your brain enters theta, the hypnagogic state, the threshold. In theta, something remarkable happens. Your conscious resistance drops almost entirely. Your subconscious opens like a door that has been unlocked from the inside. And what enters in that state enters without argument, without debate, without the usual filters that keep your old self-concept in place. This is not theory, this is neuroscience. The theta state has been studied. It is the same state experienced during deep hypnosis. The same state children are in for most of their early years, which is exactly why childhood programming is so powerful. Children absorb everything, not because they are naive, but because their brains are almost always in theta. Their subconscious is always open, always receiving, always building the self-concept that will run their adult lives. You were once that child, and the programming that entered then, without your permission, without your awareness, is still running, still shaping, still being reinforced every night. But you are not a child anymore. You can choose what enters. You can choose what you carry to that threshold. You can be deliberate about the last feeling, the last image, the last inner conversation you have before the theta state pulls you under, and that choice, made consistently, changes everything. Not overnight, but overnights. Here is what most people do not realize. Identity is not a decision. Identity is a deposit, a daily deposit, a nightly deposit. Every night you deposit something into the account of who you are. Most people deposit fear, deposit doubt, deposit the heaviness of a day that did not go as planned. And they wonder why the account never grows in the direction they want. But when you understand the deposit process, you become intentional. You start making different deposits, not dramatic ones, not forced ones, quiet ones, real ones. The gentle feeling of already being who you want to be. The quiet satisfaction of a life, already whole, the inner knowing that does not need to shout, that does not need external proof, that simply rests in itself and lets sleep do the work. This is what the revision practice is really about, not just changing a memory, changing the feeling, attached to a memory. Because your subconscious does not store events. It stores the emotional weight of events. It stores how things made you feel about yourself. And when you revise those feelings before sleep, when you lie in the quiet and gently rewrite the emotional record of your day, your subconscious stores the new version, not as imagination, as experience. Because to your subconscious, a vividly felt experience and a real one are identical. This is not a loophole. This is the design. Think about what this opens up. You do not need a new life to feel different. You do not need circumstances to change before you can feel whole. You can feel whole now. In the dark, in the quiet. Before sleep takes, you and that feeling carried into the threshold, absorbed by your subconscious, becomes the new foundation, the new normal, the new self-concept. And self-concept is everything, not your goals, not your affirmations, not your visualization practice. Your self-concept is the master filter through which all of your experience passes. If your self-concept says, "I am someone who struggles," you will find evidence of struggle everywhere, not because it is planted there, but because your mind is tuned to find it. If your self-concept says, "I am someone who is supported, who things work out for, who moves through life with a quiet confidence," your mind finds evidence of that instead. Same world, completely different experience. This is why two people can go through identical circumstances and arrive at completely different outcomes. It is not luck, it is not talent, it is the self-concept, running beneath the surface. The one that was built while they slept, the one that filters every experience, the one that decides, before a single conscious thought is formed, what kind of person you are and what kind of world you live in. And now you know where that self-concept lives, not in your daytime thoughts, in your nighttime feelings, in the identity you inhabit as your eyes grow heavy, in the inner world you carry into the most open, most receptive, most impressionable state your mind ever enters. So the practice is simple, not easy. Simple. Every night before sleep you choose. You choose the feeling of the person you are becoming, not who you were today, not who you have been for years, who you have decided to be, and you carry that feeling gently, without force, without effort, into the quiet, into the blur, into the threshold, and you let your subconscious do what it has always done, build you. Except now, you are the architect. You are not who you think you are during the day. You are who you feel you are in the dark. That is the truth most people never reach. They work on themselves in the light. They push and strive and repeat affirmations in the mirror. They build habits and routines and disciplines. And all of that has its place. But none of it reaches the depth that sleep reaches. None of it speaks the language that your subconscious actually understands. Because your subconscious does not respond to effort. It responds to atmosphere, the inner atmosphere you create before you surrender to sleep. And most people's inner atmosphere is the same every night. Heavy, unresolved, full of the residue of a day that asked too much. They carry it all to bed, every unfinished thought, every quiet worry, every small moment where they felt less than, every interaction that left a sting. They bring it all into the most powerful reprogramming window of their lives, and then they wonder why they keep waking up as the same person. Tonight can be different, not because something changed out there, because you decided to change something in here, before your eyes close, before the threshold takes you. Here is the practice in its most essential form. You lie down. The noise of the day begins to fade. And instead of following the thoughts that come, the replays, the worries, the mental to-do lists, you make a choice. You redirect. Gently, the way you would turn a child away from something harmful. Not with force, with intention. You ask yourself one quiet question. Who am I becoming? And you do not answer it with words, you answer it with feeling. You feel into the version of you that already exists on the other side of this transformation, the version that already has what you desire, the version that already walks through the world differently, not the desperate wanting of it, not the anxious reaching for it, the quiet, settled, natural feeling of already being it. This is the distinction that changes everything. Wanting keeps you in lack. Being dissolves it. When you want something, you are confirming to your subconscious that you do not have it. When you feel yourself as already being it, already living it, already natural to it, you are giving your subconscious a completely different instruction. You are saying, "This is who I am," not "this is who I want to be." This is who I am. And your subconscious, which only knows how to maintain and build upon what you are, begins building upon that. Neville Goddard called this sleeping in the wish fulfilled, not visualizing the wish, Not hoping for the wish, sleeping in it, living in it, feeling it as your present reality as you cross the threshold into sleep. He was not speaking poetically. He was describing the exact mechanics of subconscious reprogramming. When you sleep in the feeling of the wish fulfilled, that feeling enters the theta state, enters the open, receptive, undefended subconscious, and is accepted as the new reality. As the new normal, as the new self-concept, and what is accepted as normal by your subconscious becomes normal in your experience, not eventually, inevitably. But there is something that blocks this for most people, and it is important to name it. It is the feeling of falseness. The moment you try to feel like a different version of yourself, a voice rises, a quiet, familiar voice. It says, "This is not true." It says you are pretending. It says, "Look at your actual life and tell me this is real." That voice is not your enemy. That voice is your old self-concept defending itself. It does what all established programs do when they feel threatened. It argues for its own survival. And here is how you respond to it. Not with argument, not with force. You do not need to defeat that voice. You do not need to silence it. You simply do not give it your full attention. You acknowledge it the way you acknowledge traffic outside a window. Present, distant, not yours to stop. And you return to the feeling. The quiet, chosen feeling. The inner atmosphere of the person you have decided to be. Every time you return to that feeling, you are making a deposit. Every night you carry it into sleep, you are making an investment, not into some abstract future, into the architecture of who you are. The subconscious does not respond to single events. It responds to patterns, to repetition, to the consistent emotional atmosphere you create before sleep. One night of feeling different will not rebuild years of conditioning. But consistent nights will, night after night, deposit after deposit, until the new self-concept is no longer an effort, until it is simply who you are, until you wake up one morning and realize the old feeling is gone. Not pushed away, just gone. Replaced by something quieter and deeper and more permanent. A new normal, a new you. This is what transformation actually looks like. Not a dramatic event, not a single breakthrough moment, a gradual, invisible, nightly rebuilding. So quiet you almost miss it. So deep it cannot be undone by a bad day, so rooted it becomes the new foundation everything else is built on. And this is why sleep matters more than any morning practice, more than any ritual, more than any technique performed in the light, because the light is where you perform. The dark is where you become. The person you perform during the day is the person others see. The person you become in the dark is the person your subconscious builds your life around. So tonight, before you close your eyes, pause, just for a moment, before the old patterns pull you under, before the familiar heaviness settles in. Pause and ask yourself what you want your subconscious to build tonight. What version of you do you want to wake up closer to? What feeling do you want planted in the deepest soil of your inner world? And then feel it, gently, without strain, without desperation. The way you would feel something that is simply, quietly true. The way you feel the warmth of a room you have lived in long enough to call home. Because that is what you are doing. You are making a new home inside yourself, a new inner world, a new atmosphere. One where the person you are becoming is not a stranger, not a dream, not a distant hope, but a familiar presence, someone you recognize, someone you rest as, someone you sleep as, and what you sleep as, you wake as. What you wake as, you move through the world as. What you move through the world as, the world reflects back to you. This is not philosophy. This is the loop, the precise, consistent, unstoppable loop your subconscious runs every single day. And now, you are inside it, consciously, deliberately. No longer being shaped without your permission. Now you are the one doing the shaping. Every night is a new beginning. Not the kind that asks you to forget everything. The kind that gives you another chance to choose. Another deposit. Another quiet, powerful, invisible step toward the version of you that you have decided is real. You are not waiting for your life to change so you can feel different. You are feeling different, so your life has no choice but to change. That is the shift. That is the practice. That is what happens when you finally understand what sleep really is. Not the end of your day, the most important part of it. Close your eyes tonight as someone new, not someone perfect, not someone who has figured it all out, just someone who has decided. Someone who knows that the dark is not empty, it is full of everything your subconscious is quietly building for you. And tonight, for the first time or the 100th time, you are going to make sure it is building the right thing. Sleep well, become deeply.